I believe there's quite a big comparison between my trailer, the original one I created, and the AS opening sequence we created. First off, I think a major difference is the HD camera that I've used, mainly because you can get the autofocus, and from the difference from the AS one you can't see stuff as clearly as you can from this. Another thing would also be the use of the lights. I use it in quite a lot of my shots. Furthermore, since we had about a year using the old cameras, and now we've come into the A2 course, and plus with the preliminary, I've had quite a lot of experience with the cameras, so now I know to use it more. And I think you could see that from the AS. Some of it was shuddery, and other parts didn't look as good. They weren't just the right camera shots compared to what we could have used, what could have worked at a better stage. I personally felt, though I like the diegesis that we used, the diegetic titles in the AS opening sequence, I felt the take was too long, and it could be cut, it could be spaced around, maybe a few close-ups would be good, just to capture the emotion and the tension that was going on in the scene. Maybe you could slow it down. A particular reference would be from Drive, the opening. That was very slow. I think that would have worked a lot better. Major one, I suppose we also learnt from our mistakes, like say the shadowness and a lot of the editing techniques we did, and the sound. I just learnt from all of that, and where not to go wrong, and how to make it more professional. We did the research, but I want to do a lot of research into trailers and make sure that it's perfect, especially for my superhero genre, which I researched into particular superhero films. I say, as I keep going about knowledge, my knowledge of Premiere Pro, After Effects, GarageBand is a lot higher now, and I could use it a lot more flexibly, and even at a quicker pace than we could before. How long it took, and it was only 1 minute 30, when this one I managed to get out at 2 minute 37 piece in just about under a week. So the stuff I got there, and it works a lot more easier, especially the feel and already the ethos I had made it a lot more easier than what we originally intended. This mainly goes for my new trailer, which keeps a very dramatic feel throughout, compared to if you could see my original trailer, which completely contrasted throughout. And I realised that if you do such an effect, you have to do it very slowly. When I did it quite suddenly, and it was particular changes, the audience didn't really understand what was going on because there was too much happening. And that's why I realised that it needed to be slowed down, and it needed to keep just the tension throughout, instead of just completely going from happy to sad to dramatic and climatic and action. It needed to sort of keep one sort of phase and only have little drops between and switches. And music was also the other one. And main one would probably be, like I've mentioned before, is the transitions. Transition in music was quite a difficulty, and in the opening sequence I don't think it went too well, that you could sort of just and it will start again. Then with what I've tried with the new one, with my new trailer, is that it sort of just fades out and all the music sort of connects. It's very similar to stuff I've used. Compared to, I was going to say again, I think it was quite rough, the one I used in the original trailer, as the narrative sort of went everywhere, and it went from equilibrium to disequilibrium quite often. You didn't know where the protagonist stood. Another thing I got to say is the better camera shots, and also the steadiness before. Because it was our first use of the preliminary, it was just sort of standard ones. I mean, I thought there were good camera shots we used, but the way we could have done them, I suppose, could have been... It was just a bit unsteady, and it wasn't too certain. You couldn't really see what was going on, mainly because of the quality of the camera. When here, I've looked at a lot of trailers, Drive, a lot of superhero films, and I've sort of taken my action from them. And when I'm in the surroundings, I've used the whole environment to my advantage. Used mirrors before that you could sort of see different views from, low angles, high angles. I wanted to do it that if you can interact with the environment, that many of the former trailers are escapism, but mine has some I wanted a lot of social realism, so I wanted to keep it within that and do something that just looked different. And I also included a lot of intertextuality. I wanted to create a very verisimilitude. I wanted to create verisimilitude within my trailer. I want the audience to feel the world was real that they're watching for only 2 minutes. I'd say, because I did like the 30 days earlier plot line, I think the one I've created now is better. I like it a lot more, because mainly it's because of the trailer. The flexibility you can get with the trailer is a lot more than we had with the opening sequence. I mean, if we had a trailer, we could have done a lot more. We could have implied a lot more ideas. I'm sure Ryan and Jay, they would have got a lot of good ideas out, but we were sort of stuck to that ground of the enigma and then just the sort of opening shot to it. When with this trailer, I just decided to do something that was very satirical, pastiche. It's just a main parody, and if you take a spin on something, then it's got to appeal to people. I always find that with a lot of work. This whole the whole new enigma and the whole narrative plotline through Todorow's theory, it's just a whole better narrative, an enigma I can create throughout that you don't know what's going to happen next. Is what I hope you get from the trailer, because it's a lot of stuff going on, and there's a lot of script. Dramatic lines, quite a lot of snares and equivocations. I even did a separate opening sequence, so I believe that created quite a few evocations and enigmas for the audience to sort of delve upon. The narrative is quite it's anachronic. It was the same thing in the opening sequence. We've got a thing about this anachronic, like Memento. I thought was very effective, and we had that in the opening sequence, the enigma at the front, that the audience has already appealed. Most of that in the original trailer, it was very anachronic. It was literally going everywhere. When this one, I've sort of grounded it down a little bit, but it's a lot easier to understand, but it's still pretty anachronic. You know, it's going a lot of places, because that's what I've really intended the film to do. It goes a lot, and it's quite a long film. It's what I've expected. I suppose the other stuff. One of the really key things that I always loved the opening sequence that it just didn't fit with my one, was the use of diegesis, mainly the diegetic titles. The main use of diegetic titles, I think that was very effective. You know, it was like the School of Rock. I just felt it sort of fit, and it was, I don't know, it was just a bit odd, you know, with the posters and stuff. It sort of gets this gritty realism almost with the newspapers, and it was sort of just playing on the whole spy and the stalking of the nature of the film, of the nature of the sequence, I mean. But I was going to say, it was a far better use of diegesis, because a lot of it was just music, and there was literally the only sound, actually dialogue, was at the beginning. When with this trailer, I knew that the focus was to people to understand it. You need dialogue, you need dramatic, you need action, you need emotion, you need close-ups, you need a lot going on, you need a lot to entice people, and you got to create a lot of equivocations, a lot of snares, a lot of jammings throughout. All these codes that are needed, because it's what appeals to audience. It's what hooks them in, because they want to know about the characters, they want to know about the plot. So I put a lot of I kept a lot of dialogue. Actually, I created a lot of dialogue as well to try and hopefully to draw the audience in. Mainly, I'd say the beginning is quite affected. So is the end. It's just a lot of open questions, I think, for audiences. And in the end, I just think now, because of my experience from the AS, it's just a lot more professional, it's a lot more developed, and it's taken a bit more time and it's just a whole look through. And from all the research we've done throughout the course, you gain a far better knowledge of the theories you can use. You really start to focus, I think, on the micro and macro elements. You can see just throughout that there's been a lot more focus on the trailer than it has on the opening sequence.